You're listening to Lore Friendly, the edgiest podcast on the internet. I'm your host, Kris Takahashi, and with me, as always, is Alice Bell.
Edgelord.
Yeah, we are total edgelords. I just cut myself just by listening to this podcast one time. That's how edgy we are.
We're just so sharp that they cut us out.
And in case people don't know what we're referring to, I did an interview with Bethesda.net last week, and they asked me, because of Atomic Radio, if I ever wanted to be a DJ, and the answer was obviously hell no. But I did mention this podcast that myself and Alice do, and they cut that portion out. They totally cut it out.
It's really depressing. We're just too edgy for the clean world of Bethesda modding. You know, the site that has boob sliders is one of the top-rated mods.
Now, in fairness, in our last podcast, we did compare modding to receiving a blowjob or something along those lines. So
did we?
Yeah, we kind of
It's been so long.
But yeah, it's not as if our podcast is the kind of wholesome entertainment that Bethesda wants to advertise on their website.
We did talk a lot about blowjobs. I don't think they appreciated that.
Yeah, and we have talked a lot about dicks and had genital-related conversations in plenty of the shows.
A blowjob with a bit of butt play at the end.
So it's not as if it was the last podcast. They could have picked any podcast in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, last week in particular, we did mention Bethesda specifically, but in a totally non-creepy way. And yet they still chose to censor us. They still chose to
I know.
put the
I
ban on.
can't imagine why. Because the Bethesda modding community is known for the wholesome content of their site, and, you know, the general audience is very into the whole family-friendly vibe.
Yeah, there is a strange dichotomy between the content that you'll see on Bethesda's website, or the content they'll allow on Bethesda's website, as opposed to the content they'll allow in the actual games that they're known for. Like, for one, you can't swear, so there's no bad words or bad words.
Naughty word.
Yeah, it's like we're a bunch of 10-year-olds here.
Yeah.
But any sort of naughty word gets immediately flagged by Bethesda's website. It's one of the main reasons you don't see credits in the description. Obviously, the credits are way too long to probably put in that section anyway. And originally, I just said, fuck it, I'll just put the credits here instead of just on the blog. But Bethesda said no, or their system said no. It rejected my description for the mod, and it's not as if the actors' names are particularly egregious or anything. It's not like, you know, there's no Edward's dick hands or
Shitfuck.
you know, shitfuck cunt pants McGee.
420 blaze it.
Yeah, it's not like any of the actors were like, credit me as Swastika 666. But for whatever reason, it was flagged as unacceptable. Maybe it was Alice Bell. Maybe that was the problem.
Yeah, it's such a risque name. Cause my nickname in secondary school was Belland. Just like, thanks guys. No idea what. He's just so original. I can't even handle it.
There we go, talking about dicks again, though.
We're not even 4 minutes into the recording.
But the point is, the website and the game have completely different standards with regards to what gets censored and what gets approved.
The website's like the professional front that they have to present to any potential advertisers, things like that, whereas the games, they're marketed towards gamers and not towards advertisers.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. The advertisers have their own standards, and those standards don't actually apply to the game itself.
No. Not like real advertising.
Yeah, sponsors do have a lot of trepidation with the optics of it if your ad is next to something sexual or violent. So you want to maintain that image for your brand.
Wholesome, family-friendly image, because that's what you want on a gaming company that focuses primarily on assassination games and grimdark role-playing games and nuclear fallout. That is exactly what you want.
But going back to the point about Bethesda, that is more of a reflection on the sponsors and their fear of doing anything controversial or being associated with anything like that than it does Bethesda itself and their own views on censorship.
Yeah, do you think if we omitted all the dick jokes and stuff that we managed to put in the podcast, we'd be able to get some actual advertisers and sponsorship deals? So, like, at the end of every podcast, we could be like, oh, and did we tell you that if you like listening to things and people talking and stuff, then you can go to audible.com and download a free Audible book using the code DICKJOBS.
It just might. You might be onto something there.
Yeah.
But what you have to ask yourself is, would the podcast have the same soul?
No.
Would we be selling out to the man?
We would totally be selling out if we stopped dick joking
Granted,
about.
selling out is not the worst thing in the world. I mean, if we were offered real tangible money for removing dick jokes from the podcast, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like, sorry guys, no more dick.
We just make them more intelligent, like more layered. Like, instead of talking about dicks, we'd be talking about male reproductive systems.
It can be totally educational. A podcast on the male reproductive system and uncontrolled flatulence. Yeah, we need to move on from dicks for a second.
We've just talked about dicks for 7 minutes, Chris.
Well, technically we were talking about bell ends, but speaking of which, what have you been up to?
Not exciting. I've moved back home for a bit, and I've had to renovate a room. So I'm, like, sat in this newly painted, newly decorated room, and it's great. Like, I've got a desk, I've got shelves, I've got somewhere to actually put my clothes, but there's a slight problem in that I don't have a bed. I have a blank space in the room where there should be a bed.
Wait, so when you moved out, they didn't leave your bed?
No. They filled up every spare room with crap. We had to do like 3 or 4 dump runs to get rid of all this furniture so that I could have somewhere to sleep.
Your parents are like, she doesn't need to sleep. Let's put all our stuff here instead.
Last summer I stayed at my nana's because my nana loves me. My parents don't love me, but my nana does. I'm sorry, I'm getting very emotional.
It's been a very emotional week for you, I imagine. What, with the whole Brexit thing and all that.
Oh, fuck it. Jesus Christ. I'm moving to Canada. Because you're going to get Trump, so I can't move over to America. I can't speak German very well, so I can't move to Germany. I was tempted to go to Amsterdam, because Dutch is kind of like German, but with a funny accent.
Well, they speak English there, though.
Yeah, they speak really good English
the less
there.
work, the better.
And they have drugs.
Yes, that's also very important.
I'd probably go to Amsterdam, but it's like really expensive.
Even more so now that the pound has sunk to new lows.
Oh yeah, we're fucked. We are right royally fucked. These past 2 weeks have just been like an avalanche of crazy shit to make up for all the times that we took the piss out of America's political system. Like God was just like, ha, fuck you guys.
Wow, God sounds like an asshole. Yeah, although granted, when markets go down, it's mostly just speculation as opposed to what's actually happening. You actually haven't left. So these are just bets people are making, more or less, right?
Yeah.
We're turning into a business show now. We're going to give financial advice on mutual funds and short-term bonds.
Our newest segment on Law Friendly, Business Analytics. Analytics.
Business something or other.
Oh, fuck.
We don't have the technical terms down. We just have the
Let's
knowledge.
talk about audience retention and ISAs and what even is an ISA. We used to have these bank adverts that had the ISA, baby, dun 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 dun. I still to this day have no idea what an ISA is. It was a pretty funny advert, but it never made me want to invest with them. So
yeah, true. But in fairness, a lot of times with commercials, they're not trying to get you to buy something so much as they are trying to get you to recognize their name, so that when the time comes that you do need to make such a choice, you're gonna often go with the name you recognize as opposed to one
I'm
that's a
pretty
complete
bad
stranger.
with branded products. I refuse to buy roller cola, but I always buy like branded cola.
Like, who knows what's in that soda? Like, you wouldn't trust a stranger to make your soda, would you?
Yeah.
And so there's this implicit trust that's created by brand name recognition.
They made their advertising budget for a reason. I can trust them with everything.
I know for a fact that this company is a respectable one with its own television commercial.
Yeah.
For all we know, these other colas are filled with piss and arsenic.
In fairness, it bloody tastes like it. Like, cola is the one soft drink that no one can imitate. Yeah.
Although most sodas do use the same sweeteners.
Corn syrup. Doesn't like American cola use corn syrup? Doesn't fucking everything use corn syrup over there?
Yeah, because there's corn subsidies from the government. So it's cheaper to make corn syrup than it is to make sugar.
So I guess you could say that America's pretty corny. Hey!
That is horrible.
I know.
It's horrible. Now I know why Bethesda doesn't want to advertise our podcast. It wasn't the sex or the violence or the dick jokes.
They couldn't handle the puns. No.
Nothing to do with censorship. We're just that terrible.
Yeah, we're just terrible, terrible people with a terrible, terrible podcast.
Although that's not going to stop us from making more.
Yeah. We're gonna keep on making it till the end of time. I mean, we're over 300 subscribers, which is basically in the realm of like the big leagues of YouTube and podcasting.
Yeah, I walk down the street confident knowing that one in at least 300 million of these people are a potential subscriber to Lore Friendly. It makes me feel good about myself.
Yeah. Now see, I can do one better. I know, like every time I walk past someone, I know that they are at least 1 degree of separation away from the podcast. Because everyone I've seen, they've seen me. Oh, 1 degree of separation. The whole world knows it.
They're pretty much listeners by default. And you know what that makes us? It makes us celebrities.
Yeah, like practically internet celebrity here. Making 1 cent on every podcast. It's great.
Speaking of which, have you looked at our analytics lately?
I have no fucking clue.
Oh, we should do that. We should find out how much
yeah,
cash we're rolling
let's
in.
do some business analytics. This is actually turning into a completely different genre of podcast. Right, can you look at it because I don't know how to go on it?
Yeah, we'll do that later. So while I start transferring these millions to our offshore bank accounts, let's talk about the other big news this past month. What did you think of E3 this year?
It was a big squidgy ball of meh. I mean, I feel like the biggest news that we got out of it was that Kojima's basically going to Konami. Hey, fuck you.
But we already knew he was giving them the bird, right?
Yeah, but he actually proved that he had something to show, and they basically just got the entire production team that was probably dedicated to Silent Hills and just brought them over to Kojima Productions, and they're like, ha, you thought we weren't getting Northern Remus in a game? You're wrong! Fuck you!
Yeah.
We still have the star power!
Is Guillermo del Toro still on board with the project?
He might be. I think he's like still been in talks with Kojima and stuff like that. Like, it's going to be a different kind of story, but it still looks really creepy. I mean, the game's called Death Stranding, and it's about the plane between life and death and what goes beyond that plane and stuff.
That does sound creepy. By the way, what other games has Kojima made besides Metal Gear that would sort of lean toward horror?
Police Notes.
I'm not really familiar with all his work.
Police Notes. PT.
Oh, okay. Is this game going to be similar to that, or is it like an entirely new thing?
I think it's going to be like, going by like the cryptic tweets that he's had about it, it's going to be all the stupid, bizarre, pseudo-philosophical stuff that was in Metal Gear mashed with a slightly more horrific...
Yeah, Metal Gear does have a lot of those elements, those
Oh, yeah, that's
elements
PS2 Snake
that you
Eater.
may not sort of predict would be in the game just based on the military-style cover.
Yeah. I mean, Psycho Mantis is like one of the obvious ones, isn't he? With the whole breaking and bending of reality.
Psycho Mantis is kind of scary, but the whole gameplay, from what I remember, wasn't. I mean, it was more on the campy side. It's been a long time since I played that game.
I think the build up to it was scary. Because you just hear Psycho Mantis hovering above you being like, ooh, you like Super Mario Sunshine!
See, that's what I mean. It's kind of campy, but the optics are definitely in the whole genre of psychological horror and all that.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you wonder with Kojima and Metal Gear in general how much is meant to be campy and how much is meant to be serious. I mean, that's probably why he switched from Hater to Kiefer Sutherland, because, I mean, Hater is a little bit campy. And
Don't remind me. I miss Hater so much.
But it's what he wanted. I mean, it's probably what his vision was in the beginning. I mean, we always talk about how the technological limitations of 8-bit games kind of limit the artists at the time, their vision, in terms of just the stealth capabilities, or graphics in, depicting the worlds they want to build, and how the modern games sort of kind of are more emblematic of their true vision. Well, the same goes for the actors. Like, in the past, he just didn't have access to Kiefer Sutherland, but maybe he wanted Kiefer Sutherland all along.
I miss David Hayter still. That was another low light of MGS5 for me.
You have to admit, though, Hater was kind of campy.
Well, it's not that. It's that everyone else's voice was really, really campy. And then you have Kiefer Sutherland who's just being, I'm Kiefer Sutherland.
That is true. And even Kiefer Sutherland is kind of campy in his own right. Or campy's probably the wrong word. More like typecast in a certain role. But who knows how they see him in Japan. I know 24 was really popular there, so it's probably a lot different. But yeah, the dialogue, too, is another thing. We have no idea.
Such a lust for revenge!
Yeah, that's what I mean. The cringy dialogue. We don't know if that is a localization or translation thing. Kojima might have meant for that scene to be incredibly serious, and he probably did. He
was going for a more Western style, and he didn't get it.
And I mean, really, that's what campiness is in its essence. You can't force it. It just is. It's just there. Like that whole Jeep scene.
That was the best part of the game. Just like... Whoa! Can we turn the music down? We're trying to have a serious conversation. No, I like this song. Keep it on. We'll carry on in a bit.
So, that being said, when is this game coming out anyway?
I don't know. Who knows? It's literally just a tech demo. It's a tech demo with a good song. A decent concept.
It's literally just an idea Kojima scribbled on a napkin.
But the rest of E3, anything catch your eye? 'Cause
just from a nostalgia standpoint, Zelda, Final Fantasy, all the games that I played as a kid.
Yeah.
They're all coming out with new versions, but it's a bit tempered because I haven't played either of these series in a long time. Mostly because a lot of the characters are starting to look like people from boy bands. And I'm sure this was the case previously. It's just that with the graphics, the technology hadn't come up to the author's vision, like we talked about with Metal Gear. In the past, they were unrecognizable.
They're just big blocky pixels.
And now that they're starting to take shape, they're starting to take the shape of a typical Japanese rock band.
Yeah.
Just 5 guys with spiky hair and hair gel for days.
That defies gravity.
Living in a world of
beautiful people.
Yeah, pretty much. Everybody looks so plastic. It's like the opposite problem of Oblivion.
Yeah.
The landscapes look great, though. Landscapes and worlds have always looked great in those games.
Yeah.
And I like the visuals and the creativity. Like, Gravity Days uses this mechanic where they use comic book panels instead of traditional dialogue, and I always thought that was neat. But the actual story, I mean, all that anime shit is just, and teenage boy saves the world kind of shit is just, it's kind of old.
It's a bit overdone at this point, isn't it? It's because of the influx of young adult dystopias. Damn you, Hunger Games.
And it's overdone in 3 different mediums, really. Movies, video games, and comics.
It's like zombies, but with teenagers. Sometimes it combines the two. Can't quite think of a media franchise that has combined teenagers with zombies. Ooh, I know. Walking Dead Season 3, because Clem's going to be a teenager then. Probably.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Walking Dead. I did watch, I think, the first 2 or 3 seasons of the TV show, but the whole zombie thing, I got zombie fatigue, basically.
Yeah. I only watched the last season because I'd invested so much time into the previous seasons, so I was like, gotta invest some more time. Can't give up on it now. I'm like that with Once Upon a Time as well. Like, I've invested into 5 seasons worth of this, and each season's 22 episodes long.
You should just give up now before it's too late.
I can't do that. I will never give up on anything. I will give up on most things, actually. But TV, no. That's hours of my life.
TV is something that is easy to hate watch or not give up on. I'm like that with Vikings. It's a passive experience. It's not grinding like in a video game. That's one thing about becoming an adult. You don't have time for the grinding aspects of certain video games. So like leveling up your character, things like that. They really have to be part of the story now more than ever. The natural progression of the story. You can't waste time just grinding in some area just so you're powerful enough to proceed to the next step. Like games like that, you just really don't have time for anymore.
You see, what you need to do is you need to adopt some orphans and then get them to do the grinding for you whilst you're working.
Actually, you can do that. You can hire people.
Can you?
You can hire people to level up your characters. But it's usually somebody from like a country where the cost is much less. India, or I'm not sure if South Korea does it, but there are places where you can actually hire people to level up your characters. It's mostly for games like WoW, World of Warcraft, and stuff like that, where the leveling is tedious.
Shit, dream job right there.
Not really. I mean, these are the grinding aspects of video games. You're not playing for fun. You're leveling so another person can have fun with a high-powered character.
Yeah, but it's cheap money, isn't it? It's easy money.
I doubt it's easy. I mean, these are professionals, but it's still tedious.
I mean, how... It's just clicking to kill rats.
That's not fun. At least with a retail job, there's some variety.
Yeah, but retail involves interacting with people. Clicking and killing fictional rats doesn't.
Oh, that is true. You're right. Still, it's a bit mindless, and it just feels like a chore. I would rather be a janitor, I guess, than be a leveler. Janitors don't have to talk to people. I mean, they're old and creepy and smell bad.
Mop up people's shit.
See? Even that job is better than being a leveler.
Kill fictional rats.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the fact that it's hard so much as it's completely mindless and soulless.
Doing mindless work sat at a computer. Sounds like most office jobs. Hey! Yeah. I'm on fucking fire today.
You are on fire. Good job.
Have you managed to get the analytics up?
Why, yes I have. Brace yourself. But we made a grand total of 14 cents.
Holy shit! Over what amount of time?
I think it goes back 30 days. I'm not sure. Yeah, 30 days.
Oh my god! We've made 14 cents. That's like 7p. I could buy a 5p mix and still have a 2p spare with that. Oh my god, I thought we were only getting like 5 cents an episode. This is exceeding all my expectations, Chris. We are...
Those days are over. The days of making only 5 cents a month, that's like so 2015. We've actually tripled our revenue since then.
We are fucking rich.
Although in all seriousness, I think part of our problem is the fact that I am terrible at marketing.
Hey, you've managed to get us 14 cents this month. Do not put yourself down.
True. 14 cents is nothing to scoff at. But that money and revenue aside, being a terrible marketer does come in handy with modding, especially with like a beta release. Especially when the mod contains a not so subtle flying bowling alley over Boston, then yeah, you're kind of glad you didn't market the mod heavily to the masses.
I just woke up a couple of days ago and that was on my Skype. I managed to put a bowling alley in the middle of the ocean. What?
It's funny because the person who found the bowling alley thought it might have been intentional. Like, okay, maybe this is part of the quest. Maybe this flying bowling alley that's hovering over the ocean is part of the mod somehow. So I'm just imagining this person seeing this bowling alley, thinking it might be part of the mod. It just might be part of the mod.
I think you should make a quest about the flying bowling alley, the myth of the flying bowling alley.
Yeah, maybe they're like aliens or something, and they've come here to Earth to challenge us to bowl. That's basically going to decide whether they colonize our planet or something. I mean, there are aliens.
Imagine
in the
how
game.
much fun that person had trying to get into the bowling alley. You must have provided her with minutes of entertainment.
At least a minute. But then I also imagine the disappointment when they actually found the doors to the bowling alley and they try to open it and it's like, oh, nope, just a bug.
No, that was totally intentional. You've just totally cut out a completely legitimate quest.
At this point, it's become such a part of the mod that I might as well.
That's just beautiful.
Make it
You should include that in them. Like just a little nod towards it in dialogue. The bowling alley from outer space. Who'd have thought it? That would be a pretty terrible alien invasion now that comes to think of it.
I mean, if you think of all the cool ways to conquer a species, challenging them to bowl is probably pretty low on the list.
I quite enjoy bowling. I'm terrible at it, but I enjoy it. Like, I enjoy it because, like, I'm really, really weak. So I it's like, whenever I try to throw the bowling ball, I kind of throw myself down as well, so it's like a cartoon a lot of the time. So, like...
Well, then hopefully it won't be you challenging the aliens when the fate of our universe is on the line. Oh, wow. Yeah, what else were we going to talk about?
We were going to talk about Game of Thrones, but we're like 47 minutes in.
Oh, that's right.
Shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's fucking do it, yeah.
Let's dive right in.
Right, so in the previous podcast, I think we talked about episodes 1 and 2. And then... a whole bunch of shit happened.
Yeah, it's really hard to have an opinion of a show after only 2 episodes, but
yeah,
especially since we're going into uncharted territory with the TV show passing the books. But yeah, what did you think?
I don't know what I was expecting, but I didn't expect that. I think is my biggest takeaway from the season. Like, I don't remember anything that happened in the middle of the season. Like...
What? You don't remember Hodor?
Yeah. I'm upset about Hodor.
Hodor.
I liked Hodor. Hodor. I feel really bad for him. That was a dick move of Bran's. And how did he think that he was going to escape without Hodor carrying him around? Because Mira wasn't doing a very good job, was she?
Yeah, that tends to happen when you have an idea in your head and the idea comes before the actual script or the actual content in question.
Yeah.
Like, the whole hold the door Hodor thing was something that George R.R. Martin...
A germ.
Yeah, germ. I don't know why I said the whole thing. It was just a complete waste of
Germ.
time. Yeah. But the point is that the idea sort of preceded the actual content, and so a lot of times when that happens, you kind of force the logic to fit into what the idea is or what you want or where you want the story to go, and sometimes logic gets thrown out the window. So really the only thing that matters is that it hit the emotional beat. The logical beats are sort of secondary in this scenario.
Yeah, I felt really bad for Hodor. I felt really bad for all the fucking direwolves we've lost this season as well.
Yeah, they've just been killing a lot of characters in general. Anybody who isn't central to the plot, so they can sort of tighten up the narrative.
Or just not including them or rolling them up into a big doughy ball of characters into one character.
And it kind of speaks to the direction of the show as a whole, where it started out as this sort of unconventional narrative. Then you didn't know really what was coming next, and now it's kind of pushing toward a conventional ending with a conventional protagonist, like Jon Snow, who is actually more of a mirror of Ned Stark than he is what he was sort of promised to be, which is a sort of hybrid of Targaryen and Stark bloodlines. I mean, the dude even has fucking plot armor protecting him. I mean, that is the most standard fantasy protagonist thing that can happen, is him standing in the battlefield with like 1,000,000 arrows falling down.
That was actually ridiculous. And are you getting stabbed and then doing hardcore parkour the next day?
Yeah, Arya has plot armor too protecting her. So instead of the whole sort of Game of Thrones theme where stupid decisions cost you your life, or the bad people win because good is dumb, you're actually getting a more conventional narrative where good people can do no wrong. Or rather, honor and virtue always win out.
Well, I don't think that's the message of the original text. I think the message of the original text is more like you reap what you sow. Like, Robb Stark's death wasn't a big shock in the books. Like, when you read through them, like, it builds up to it. You can see how his actions have led to that. Like, nothing's there just to be shocking. It's a shame. Clever people can be dumb. Good people can be dumb.
But I think, like, with Eddard Stark, he was deliberately made the protagonist of the first book to show how the old ideas or the traditional tropes of sanctimony and honor and virtue actually don't really apply to real world rules. And that's why he ends up dying, partly because of the machinations of someone like Littlefinger, who is supposed to be cunning and smart and uses their virtues against them.
Yeah.
The problem is that any plot based on sort of cynicism and valuing that kind of character over the honorable and virtuous one usually doesn't result in a happy ending, and nobody wants an unhappy ending. Nobody wants an ending where Voldemort rules over Hogwarts because he was smarter than a bunch of stupid kids. Nobody wants an ending where Littlefinger is the last person sitting on the Iron Throne. Of course, at the same time, are we really going to have this sort of cheesy Jon Snow Daenerys Targaryen wedding?
I want them both to die.
And so those two things are kind of at odds with each other, I think, as we're going into the last season, which could very well be a incredibly traditional season in terms of what we're watching as far as like the fantasy tropes and all that.
Bittersweet, I think, is how it's been described, the ending. Bittersweet.
Yeah, that makes sense. It would be a decent compromise of the two values.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how they're going to catapult themselves towards the end, because I think they've only got 14 episodes left.
I think you have to start with flashbacks. Like, you have to explain who Jon Snow's father is, because they did not do that.
Like, they maybe mentioned Rhaegar twice in the series.
Yeah, so it doesn't really make much sense. The only way you can justify doing it the way they did it is if you explain it in the next season with flashbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, preferably I would think that you would do it before, but maybe they were worried that it would give something away, so this is fine the way they did it, but they have to explain who the father is via flashbacks. They just have to. I mean, people who watch the show have no idea who Rhaegar is.
Yeah, someone that I was talking to actually ended up thinking that Robert was Jon's father. Like Robert Baratheon. So that was a bit weird. Another person I talked to thought that Eddard was his dad. Incest! Yay!
Yeah, even if you ignore the whole incest thing, he was like in the tower for a minute. That's not how babies are made. But yeah, there's no way they could have done this without knowing how confusing it would be for people who haven't read the books.
Yeah, they need to... Because they released that stupid infographic thing a couple of days after the episode and like showing the connections between all the characters, and it was the have you not seen
I don't know what you're talking about.
Let me try and find this for you, because it is...
What? But it's official?
Yeah.
Like, why would they...
on the internet.
Why would they reveal this huge thing? Like,
because they realised how confused people were getting.
But that implies that they assume people know already. I mean, which a good amount of people do, but there's also a good, healthy amount of people who don't.
Yeah.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
Have a look at this. We will put a link in the description for people to see.
Oh my god, what the fuck? Okay, but in their defense, this is such a fucking confusing infographic that it pretty much reveals nothing. I take back everything I was thinking. If the plan was to confuse people about who Jon Snow's parents are, then this thing did its job. This thing's fucking brilliant.
It's such a stupid infographic. It's the most... I'm more confused looking at it than I was reading the books.
It's just a clusterfuck. It's a fucking mess. But like I said, I mean, as long as it doesn't reveal anything, then it did its job. That's some like 10th level chess shit right there. I mean that. But yeah, it seems to be tightening up. We seem to be getting toward the end anyway, so I don't know. It shouldn't be too hard to fuck up.
I don't know. I'm intrigued. I can't say I'm looking forward to it, but I'm intrigued. But can I just say that, you know, the scene at the start of episode 10, spoilers, the 20-minute scene with like the build up to the explosion of the Great Sept of Baelor, I felt that was like so well built up and everything. Like that was like it hadn't really been seeded much in the previous episodes, but I feel like the way that it was shot and the way that they built tension was really, really incredible. The one complaint I have about that scene is that the music was like so anachronistic, like it was just so far from...
They're like playing heavy metal and shit.
Pretty much, yeah. It was like so far from anything that like they've ever done in the TV show. Like they had pianos.
That was a little weird.
They've never had pianos and organs.
Yeah.
I was just like, what the fuck is this? Have I turned on the wrong show? Have I downloaded a wrong stream? What? I mean, it's great. It's great music, don't get me wrong, but it was just so bizarre to like hear it in Game of Thrones. I was like, have you ripped off another fantasy soundtrack or something?
It's like you accidentally tuned into an episode of Full House.
Oh yeah. I was just like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, music is supposed to be something that is heard, not noticed. I mean, when someone's giving a resounding speech on the battlefield, you're listening to the words, and the music is supposed to set the emotion, set the tone unconsciously.
Yeah.
Although in this case there were no words spoken, so I guess in those instances music can take a larger role in a particular scene.
Yeah, but I feel like they could have just done some music with the standard... Like, they could have done that exact same piece, but with different instruments. The instruments that the soundtrack is known for using. Like the violins and the cellos and things like that. They could have... the piano says that we're going into the 17th century now.
But pianos are old, aren't they? I mean, it's not like they were using electric guitars.
Yeah, no, when was the piano invented?
I don't know, but it's debatable, isn't it? I mean, it's not like they were auto-tuning tracks and stuff.
18th century, early 18th century. But, like, the string instruments are all...
Yeah, I'm not really well-versed on what the difference is between piano and strings in terms of the emotions it's supposed to make you feel. So maybe they just felt piano was better. I don't know.
Yeah. Tinkly noise. Maybe a harp could have worked. Like, I could imagine that being on a harp, and I can imagine that being so much better on a harp. Because it wouldn't stand out quite so much. Because harps exist in the context of, like, the Song of Ice and Fire universe.
I haven't seen anyone play a harp, though. I mean, I guess I could picture Sansa learning how to play a harp. Maybe Littlefinger trying to woo Sansa. Playing a harp. Or woo Cat. You don't seem pleased with that particular picture. I mean, it's such a pretty picture.
He's so slimy. He makes me sick.
Yeah.
But I just find every scene with him and Sansa so funny because Sophie Turner is like 5 inches taller than him in every scene.
That's true.
The only person who I've seen in a scene with Sansa recently who is taller than her is probably Gwendolyn Christie. Like, Brienne is the only person taller than Sansa at this point. Sansa is the giant of Westeros. Sansa is the new mountain.
Yeah, they never show the box in any of the scenes, do they?
The box is probably the hardest working person on that show.
I think the box, more than anyone on that show, deserves an Emmy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, can you imagine what would happen if the box went on strike?
Oh my god, they won't be able to get Kit Harington and Sophie Turner in the same frame. They'd have to do every...
I mean, without the box, Sophie Turner's basically talking to a mop of hair. What is she going to do, crouch? I mean, that might hurt her back.
Man, the Screen Actors Guild fees they'd have to pay on that, jeez. The insurance.
I mean, if I'm the box, I'm one of the most key figures in every scene, right? And I'm getting stepped on and stacked on top of other boxes that haven't had nearly the amount of stage training I've had.
Yeah. Let them know that he will not stand for this substandard treatment.
He's going to fold himself back up, get put back into his trailer.
Take himself back off to IKEA and go to someone who appreciates him. He's a bloody hard worker, that one.
But yeah, box aside, Littlefinger is turning a lot less cunning and more just slimy, typical villain thing. And that just goes back to this whole, we're moving toward the conventional narrative where the good guys win.
Sansa's gonna kill him.
Yeah, probably.
Sansa's gonna kill him.
And you don't think there's any way that the old sort of cunning Littlefinger figures out that Sansa's not with him? I mean, it's kind of obvious at this point that she's not.
He's so deluded in his vision of Sansa as being a mini malleable cat that I think that he's losing himself to it. And I think that's evident in the books as well, like he's losing sight of his plans over the existence of Sansa.
Yeah, the decisions he's been making too are just so fucking stupid. It's just, yeah, it's hard to take him seriously anymore. I mean, the whole giving Sansa to Ramsay, it's just so fucking dumb. I just don't get it. Other than it being a story point that D&D wanted to make.
Apparently in interviews, I think Benioff and Weiss have revealed that Littlefinger didn't know how bad Ramsay Bolton was. That has been revealed in interviews. That Littlefinger did not know how bad Ramsay Bolton was.
What? That's... Oh, God. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that he wouldn't know, given everything he's done in the previous episodes.
And it really fucking didn't. Sansa didn't need to be in the North at all. Like, yes, we got a nice little reunion with Jon Snow out of it, but really her role this season could have been limited to the Vale. And drumming up the Vale Knights and gaining support and things like that. That could have been her arc for this season. Yeah. Yeah,
they didn't really need to do it. I mean, the only main difference is sort of the relationship with Theon, as far as and also the sort of emotional hit, I guess, that it's a character we care about instead of Jane Poole.
It is falling back on, like, old tropes, though, of, like, oh, rape is one way to build a person's character. Like, that's such a horrible, disgusting trope. And it's something that I feel like a lot of writers like to get into when it shouldn't be, and it completely negates a lot of, like, actual real life survivors' experiences. But at the same time, it's attractive from a writing standpoint because it's like an easy way of building character almost.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It shouldn't be building character as opposed to just a horrible thing that happens to you.
Yeah.
And it's very analogous to Theon getting his wiener chopped off, because that is pretty much, I mean, it's a violent act done by the same person, by the same sadistic psychopath. And so it's weird that with Theon you get the whole kind of guilt and emasculation and just hurt and these wide range of emotions. And with Sansa, it's kind of more like she just turned into this hardened badass. And while we want the character to change, I'm not sure if it didn't already happen.
I would have preferred a slower arc
of
changing character rather than the boom, you're raped. Woo.
Yeah, and it's not like her experiences with Joffrey weren't horrific, or her experience at King's Landing, losing her father, for fucking Christ's sake, to harden her up as far as how to play the game and turning into this type of character.
Yeah.
I get that they do need to create sort of this connection with Theon, maybe. I don't know, maybe that's going to play into the show later on, but yeah, I don't know. It just felt poorly done in general. I mean, in the book, she's already, like, Littlefinger's assistant. Like, she's already learning how to be this person without having to go and be Ramsay Bolton's wife.
Yeah. But what can you do, eh? The show's the show, the books are the books. They are completely different entities now.
Well, at least the ending will be the same regardless. I mean, George has already told them the ending, so you have that to look forward to.
Apparently the new series isn't going to be airing until, like, autumn next year. Because it's in winter now. So they need to wait until winter so they can start filming scenes.
Oh, that would make sense. Although I do think that a large portion of the next season will be flashbacks. I mean, they have to explain Rhaegar. If they're not going to do it via the characters in the present day, they have to do it via flashbacks. One or the other. I mean, somebody has to tell the story of Rhaegar.
Well, this season has definitely proved that you don't have to do things in order, because Varys can apparently teleport everywhere. Literally everywhere.
Maybe he's a member of the Institute. You don't know. Varys is a synth. You heard it here
And
first.
you can hop from Bravos to the twins in the space of an episode. Yeah.
Also a synth. That's how she changes faces. She's a machine. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we're done. I think we've definitely gone through more than we intended. So it's that 7 minutes of dick jokes at the beginning that's done it. Pushed us over the edge.
Yeah, without those dick jokes, I mean.
Yeah.
That's like 20% of the fucking show. I mean, we really need that. I mean, that's why we can't do
We would
without
not
it.
be earning 14 cents in a month.
No, we'd be earning close to 17 cents, I imagine. But are those 3 cents worth it?
Every dick joke feeds into my soul a little bit more. And what's more important, money or happiness?
So that's it for this episode of Lore Friendly.
So
say goodbye,
long,
Alice.
farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, and try.